Good evening and Happy New Year, and welcome to the January 12th, 2026 regular meeting of the Hillsborough Town Board of Commissioners. The first item on our agenda tonight is the public charge, and usually we acknowledge the public charge, but I always like to read that at the first meeting of the year. There's a reminder to the public and education about our commitment to public civility in our public meetings. The Hillsborough Board of Commissioners pledges to the community of Hillsborough its respect. The board asks community members to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner with the board and with fellow community members. At any time, should any member of the board or attendee fail to observe this public charge, the mayor or the mayor's designee will ask the offending person to leave the meeting until that individual regains personal control. Should decorum fail to be restored, the mayor or mayor's designee will recess the meeting until such time that a genuine commitment to the public charge is observed. And number 2 on the agenda, Sarah, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
We do not.
Thank you. Okay, on to number 3, agenda changes and approval. I know we have at least one change to the agenda regarding the addition to the consent agenda. I think. Special event permit for the annual Okinichi Mountain Challenge. Are there any other changes or corrections?
And move you accept this change.
Second.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Kathleen. Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And on to number 4, presentations and employee service and milestone awards. Eric.
Thank you, Mayor. This is one of our favorite evenings of the year is both the milestone awards, and then later we do the innovation and customer service awards coming on. I can't remember how many years we've been doing the milestone awards, but just so the board knows and the community, anytime an employee has a 5-year milestone, we like to recognize it. The first time an employee gets a 5-year coin, they get this, and then they add them on for every 5-year increment. Employees get a $100 added to their check, so they can just a little recognition to go do whatever they want. And we also give them a certificate. So we're going to do a run through of our the class of 2025, the 5-year milestones. Is Juan. So, all right. So, Corporal Juan Duran, I would say that probably the best known town employee is usually the canine officer, and they're some of our best PR and engagement with the community. So Juan's been with us for 5 years, has done a great job. And a side note, I think at least the last 2 years, he's been the fastest of the quickest time of all the police officers on the POPAT, the police officer physical activity, which is really a tough drill. So great job, and thanks to Juan for his 5 years of service.
With the dogs running after you.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't think about that. Yeah, but so and I know Curry is here with us this evening. So one of the cool things about a lot of our town employees is they just bring different skill sets and backgrounds. And so part of Curry's background is he was a professional in recreational services, which I know Commissioner English can appreciate. And so the combination of his law enforcement background, prior recreation, has really helped Curry and the entire police department with our community engagement. And the past year, he's been added onto the community services division. I think people have seen him. And between Curry and Sergeant Foster, I think we've just got a really strong and robust engagement in the community. So a huge thanks, Curry, for your 5-year milestone. Come on down. Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for coming out tonight too, and all the great work. Appreciate it. Thank you. Up there, everybody. Oh, there we go. So Deb Strutz is in our accounting division, accounting department finance. So I don't think Deb is here this evening. So hey, Mark. So we've joked with Deb, if we can remember some of the challenges we had several years ago in finance and being down to 1.4 people, Deb was the one. And so we joked that she's probably got 10 years worth of service as far as the challenges, and she's just done a phenomenal job along with everybody else on the team and really bringing us up to a good spot, and has helped with a lot of policies and making things a lot more efficient. So a huge thanks and congrats to Deb on her 5 years. So. I'm always so impressed, especially with our public works employees. I think when we talk about other cities, it's like somebody has a job, they're driving this piece of equipment, and that's what they do 24, all throughout the year. All of our public works employees are versatile and they're able to operate all of the equipment or almost all of them. And as an equipment operator too, Walsum, I believe, is able to operate every single piece of complex equipment we have. If you remember a few years ago, he was the one that saw the fire, I think down in Okanichi Street, and called it in and basically saved that house. And he's does a fantastic job and came with a lot of experience from another municipality out of state. And we're really lucky to have Walsum in Public Works. So congrats to Walsum on his 5 years. Oh, there's like serious pressure when you have the mayor on a milestone. You got to really deliver. So, I've joked with Mayor Bell that as far as each mayor has different challenges over the years. And I can't recall in the first 2 years of mayoral time, there actually being a mayor that has had to deal with as many issues. It's just been sort of a continuous stream, and he's done an amazing job. So thank you for your decade of service. Oh, you got it. How is that happening? So I know Shannon is here. So I was thinking today about reflecting and about when Mayor Stevens was here, he was talking about it's happening in Hillsborough and that people love Hillsborough. And we know from getting the surveys, and of course, it's a team effort and so many people play a role. But I think one of the most important folks we have is our planning and economic development department and manager. And so while Shannon has 2 titles, she probably wears about 24 hats with all the, we're a vibrant town for our size. And I think pretty much everything that's going on in town, Shannon is assisting, bailing people out of trouble, making things happen, and then working with her really solid team on probably the most difficult decisions elected officials have with development. So having a decade of service, and Shannon's done a phenomenal job. So thank you, Shannon. Thank you much. Appreciate it. So Graham Dodson started off working in our Public Works division. Public Works Department did a great job. And when you see utility systems mechanic, the mechanics are the ones that work on the wastewater collection side. And so we've got an amazing team because we've all learned how complex and important the wastewater collection system is. And I like to call them our firefighters. We have a lot of firefighters in the town doing different things. So Graham, and you'll hear about some others, they probably spend more time out in the evenings than about any of the other town employees. So we're lucky to have Graham and congratulate him on 10 years of service. So I don't know if we track like which employee has helped more people. It'd probably be a big contest. We don't have that statistic. So if Danielle King hasn't helped more individuals in need in a wider variety, she's going to be on the podium since we're here in the Olympic time. She's just been amazing, the care and compassion and things that even you never hear, that's not my job. She does whatever it is, and some of the awards we've seen that she goes out of her way to help people. And we're incredibly lucky to have Danielle. So Danielle, thank you for the great work and congrats on your decade of service. Thank you. Everybody knows Troy, Infrastructure Protection Coordinator. And if for those that went through Government 101, a lot of folks felt like that Troy's presentation was the most riveting, entertaining, and useful because they give out the fats, oil, grease kits. And I know the person that I live with went to that, and they said that was the favorite presentation. We have the Hillsborough grease trap and strainer now, but Troy goes out, spends a lot of time with the businesses. He'll go out and help anybody. Some of these are expensive, complex, and important issues. And he's just such a fun and helpful person. It's great to have Troy. And he came to us from another city with also the safety background. So another employee that has a very diverse background. So Troy, congrats on the 10 years of service. All right, moving on to the 15-year milestone. So we're talking about firefighters. So Lacey Painter, is the utility maintenance supervisor. So on the water distribution side, that's Lacey's crew and his team. And as far as after hours calls, I don't think there's anybody gets more after hours calls than the water crews, because if you're gonna have a bad line break, when's it gonna happen? At night, when it's cold, and when we've had some other crises, like with Chantal, they were out making things happen we didn't always have potable water, but we had water. And Lacey is a phenomenal, does a phenomenal job, not just technically, but out of all the supervisors in the town, the quality of evaluations that he does, he takes his time to really be thoughtful and a great coach and help people along. So he just does a fantastic job, and we're lucky to have Lacey. So thanks and congrats, Lacey, on 15 years. All right, another member of the 15-year club and one of our out in the scene firefighters, Keith Scarborough, started off in Public Works, did a great job with us for a long time. And now, fortunately, he's been with us a long time on the wastewater collection side. And as when we were talking about Graham, you just don't stick a person out there and going, this is your job. You know, we know there's like, there's 150 miles of sewer lines, all the pumps and the valving. It's like, it takes a lot of institutional knowledge, mechanical know-how, and Keith is fantastic in all of those areas and grateful for all his service for the town. So congrats, Keith. Thank you. All right, it's the 20-year milestone awards. As the board knows, we have hundreds of pieces of equipment, whether it's big rolling trucks, things, small things, backpack blowers, and we have 3 mechanics full-time. David Wisely, the fleet manager, he's in the office a lot. He gets his hands dirty on a daily basis out there. It's like, how can you have hundreds of pieces of equipment? And the answer is when I understand they jokingly call Frank Jr. because he's only been here 20 years. So Darren is, Koch is the longest tenured employee in the town, and he's at 29 years. David's been with us for 26. There's an amazing team with Fleet. Frank is regularly doing research and figuring out, how do we fix this problem? How do we fix it affordably? What's the right thing to get? He has just done an amazing job year after year. And again, we were just joking with him. It's funny. He's like only got 20 years of service, but huge thanks to Frank for keeping the town running and rolling, literally. So great job. All right, this is our 2.5 decade recipient here. So Scott Foster is one of our longest tenured employees and the longest in the Hillsborough Police Department. And I mentioned, if you are the K-9 officer, you are the most well-known person in town, and Scott may very well be the most recognized person in town, and has over the years has had the ability to influence and make positive contact for all these years with the K-9s. And the job that Scott has done with community services and engaging and then meeting with members of the community, they love him, and it wasn't easy, and he spent a huge amount of time listening and helping people. And I personally am like grateful for everything that Scott has done in his 25 years of service in the town. Thank you. All right, do we always save the best for last? So 4 decades with the town of Hillsborough. So there is only one Carolyn Glasgow. So I used to say when Carolyn was doing her first stint with the town, I would be driving into work on the weekends, and almost every single time I would see Carolyn's car there, and I would call her and go, I see you down there working. And she's just, over the years, Carolyn has had pretty much every job that you can have in finance, accounting, and billing. She has served as our assistant finance director in the past. Our interim finance director did a phenomenal job, and she's the coach. And she won't admit it, but I think everybody else in finance will say she is the glue that's really held us together. And remember the 1.4 employees? So Carolyn was the 0.4, but she did about 8.4 on the equivalent of work, and really kept us together at one of the most vulnerable and difficult times we've had. And a huge thanks to Carolyn for everything she's done for 40 years of service. You were awesome, Carolyn. Oh, Carolyn says it's been 10 years we've been doing that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of my girls.
All right.
Yeah.
And then I guess we've got a coin on order for you.
Yeah,
So-
and West.
Yeah, maybe.
Wait to get.
All right. Yeah, thanks for the families and everybody from coming out. We're so grateful and, as you've heard me say before, like the number one thing that I like in my job is I get to work with awesome people. And it's just so cool to see what all of you and the folks that are on here and the board does all the time. So thank you for letting me be your coworker. Appreciate it.
Eric, can I share one story about,
Please do.
so Scott, when I did I do one or two ride-alongs with you?
These two.
I had, be done, but no, one of the times, it was really, it's well known, and one of the things that was so impressive, because one of them it was a domestic situation. That, on paper. Oh my, that's all I could say, oh my. And you spent a lot of time talking with those folks, and what could have been a really bad situation. All the parties, it ended up very settled. There was normally you could hear, I couldn't even hear in the car. But it was your skill and your care and attentiveness. And, so while we're talking about, the dog, really, the fun stuff, I really want to applaud and acknowledge the hard skills that you have brought along side by side, and how much we really appreciate it.
Thank you. Very nice, thank you.
Cause that was just, that, I thought there were gonna be guns.
Thank you, Kathleen. On to number 5, appointments. We have 2 appointments to the planning board, appointment of Kimberly Lavendry.
I move to approve.
Whoop, hang on. To a 3-year term ending January 31st, 2029, into the tourism board, Spencer Wellborn, for a term expiring January 12th, 2028. Is there a motion?
Yes, I move to approve the 2 appointments as presented.
Second. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Matt, for the second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Appointments are approved. And on to number 6, the consent agenda, which we modified earlier. Is there a motion?
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Kathleen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. And on to number 7, the regular agenda items for decision. We have 3 things on the under number 7. The first one is a rezoning request for 3 parcels in Oakdale Village, and Molly Boyd. Present.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. Yes, so this is a rezoning request for 3 parcels in Oakdale Village. The owner is Oakdale Hillsborough LLC, and the applicant is Tony Whitaker. He's a professional engineer with Civil Consultants. He's with us this evening if you have any questions for him. The location of the property is in Oakdale Village at Old NC 86 and Oakdale Drive. And the acreage is all told about 6.9 acres. And the utilities, there are existing utilities at the site. So existing water lines in the adjacent rights of way and water and sewer lines on the Oakdale Village site. The applicant is requesting to rezone from entranceway special use to general commercial. Some staff comments that are in the report in your packets. Oakdale Village is a special use district that was approved in 2011, intended for retail and office use. And the applicant is requesting to rezone the parcels in Oakdale Village that are with undeveloped area and the stormwater pond. And the allowable uses in general commercial and entranceway special use are mostly comparable. There's a full list of those in your packet. The main difference between the 2 is special use permits. So entranceway special use, the current zoning, any use would require a special use permit to be developed. And general commercial, some uses require a special use permit, but there are plenty that are permitted by right, meaning you wouldn't have to go to a board to approve the use, but you would submit site plan construction drawings to staff for approval. Recommendations: planning staff recommends approval of the rezoning based on consistency with the Unified Development Ordinance and the future land use plan. And after the public hearing on November 20th, the planning board also recommended approval with a vote of 6-0. At the hearing and at the planning board meeting, the main issue or thing that came up for conversation was why rezone to general commercial and not economic development? And so the differences between these two districts is largely in terms of scale. So general commercial is at a smaller scale. It's intended to serve the immediate neighborhood or community. And economic development is larger scale. It's intended to serve a greater geographical area and be a significant job generator. And so in this case, if the entire project area, the Oakdale Village, was undeveloped land, staff would be looking more at economic development. In this case, where you have an approved development that's half developed, general commercial was more consistent with what was approved for Oakdale Village and with the future land use plan. And so if you have any questions for me, or if you'd like to hear from the applicant, take any questions you have.
Okay, thank you. Let's go around the table very quickly. Does anyone, Matt, do you have any questions? No. Thank you.
I think just the only thing that came up in the planning meeting was about the single family dwelling, accessory dwelling. I believe Kathleen, you brought that up.
Yeah, but what I remembered was the covenants and
Okay.
there's
Yes,
a bunch of, that I'd forgotten about, but there's a bunch of the covenants that.
It would prohibit. Okay, thank you for the reminder.
Sorry,
That was the only
I've
thing that I
lost
had.
Sticking in the back.
I have no questions. Kathleen?
I don't have any questions.
No questions. Tony, is there anything you would like to add to Molly's report?
No, thank you for the opportunity, but I think we've covered it.
Thank you. So if there are no questions for Molly, any questions for the applicant?
Mark, this is one of your last meetings with us, right?
Yes, sir.
If you're retiring, there's a retirement party coming up on Thursday. Looking forward to being there.
I'm just sorry, I'm just like, I know it's exciting, but I'm like, no, no.
I will say it's hard. I got 2 calls today with people wanting me to do things.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the rezoning request according to the proposed consistency statement on page 64 of the agenda?
Second.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Matt. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next up is item B, code enforcement updates and upcoming abatement cases. Shannon Kemp.
Hello, so I just wanted to stop by and give some updates. Code enforcement with our contracted code enforcement officer continues to go really well. They've done a really great job. With I think not only being, kind and empathetic, but persevering and being persistent. And so code enforcement can be a bit of a long haul kind of whack-a-mole game. So you kind of get one thing taken care of over here and another one pops up over here. And sometimes it can take a lot of time to get certain cases worked out. Sometimes some move quickly, but we have been able to evade a lot of cases with the property owners, just getting their buy-in and kind of explaining to them why it's important, why they have to get things cleaned up. We do have a handful of cases that the property owners either will not or cannot abate, that we do have a lot of concerns about. So the way that the abatement process works with basically abandoned, dilapidated structures is that we kind of confirm that they're vacant. There is a public hearing process. We do a title search. And then any houses that we are going to essentially tear down will need a notice of an order to do that. So those will come back before these boards. And then we do issue a lis pendus for the property so that that property can't be sold while we're in the middle of the process. And once we do go ahead and do that tear down and clean up, then legally, we are permitted to go ahead and put a lien on the property, which basically means that the town would get paid back, basically reimbursed when the property sells for the cost of that tear down and cleanup. So we do have the 2 properties that I outlined. And the way that we kind of selected these properties was kind of a couple of different factors. One is just kind of non-response from the property owner and or the property owner saying that they can't or won't clean the property up. So for 116 Terrain, we haven't had any response from that property owner in several years. But we have sent letters and posted the property. And that one, you can see from the photos, is already starting to fall down. So that's a concern, just from a public safety standpoint, but also just animals, water intrusion. you know, kids breaking, it's just not, it just invites problems.
Is it a local owner or is it an absentee owner?
It's heirs owned, so those tend to be tricky, because when everybody owns something, no one tends to own it, and so you kind of have some arguments and things. We have had good success with them. I think they appointed a family member to mow the grass, so that's been helpful, but the house is just kind of sitting and falling apart. So that's 116 Terrain. The other property is 533 West King Street. It's not in the worst case of some of the properties that we probably will need to tear down over the next several years. However, it is extremely close to the street. So that is the concern there, is that if and when that one does start to fall down, it could fall into the street, into King Street, and that could potentially be problematic. Also no movement from that property owner. And on junk and solid waste accumulation, we have 112 Hill Street. That's also an heirs property, and I believe several years ago, the town abated that one and had that property owner on a payment plan. I believe the property owner has since passed away. It's still heirs owned. You've kind of got some family dynamics going on there. There is one of the heirs, I believe, is occupying the home. They tried to clean it up. There were pictures in the packet of kind of what it looked like before. There was a fence, so you couldn't really see what was back there. It fell over. The family tried to get together and clean it up. They pulled a lot of stuff out and some stuff kind of into the right of way by the house. Some of it continues to kind of get picked up, but I think overall it's just overwhelming. And now that some of that stuff is kind of closer to the right of way, Public Works, that is, you know, if it snows and we have to plow, et cetera, and it's that close to the street, there are some concerns there. So that may just need one good cleanup, and then hopefully the property owner can maintain that cleanup. And then 370 Cornelius, that actually was at one time a house, but it has fallen.
It's a self demolition.
Yeah.
Gravity demolition.
Yes, it has fallen in on itself, and now that it no longer has a roof and four walls, we can consider that a junk cleanup, because it's basically just debris at this point. I also had a couple of honorable mentions that I wanted to share with you all. Sarah, how do I do that? Because it may be that once we start the formal process to do these abatements, that will get people's attention. Sometimes letters and posting don't. So it may be that someone pops up and they're like, no, we're gonna take care of it. I do try to explain to property owners that it could potentially be cheaper for them to do these abatements themselves. Just because we have to run through a lot of legal process and hold public hearings and then do the liens. So it can potentially save you money to tear down and do these abatements yourself if you can. This is another property that's in really bad shape. 120 West Corbin, just out of the historic district. Probably at one time was, you know, a historic structure, but it's really just, you can see the water intrusion. Anybody or anything can get in.
That's the other guy. I thought it was the one next door also, but it's West Corbin.
Yeah, it's West, yeah.
It's got beautiful columns.
Yeah.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time. Yeah, so this one's in pretty bad shape. So obviously if we have a responsible property owner that pops up and says, stop the process, I'm gonna tear it down, comes up with their own contractor, then we can move on to some of these other ones, basically until we run out of funds.
Because that one, I mean, I have seen people go in and out of that structure. Does it even have a solid floor inside?
I don't think the code enforcement officer felt comfortable going inside. A lot of these, they'll kind of peek in, but I can ask him, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially in this area, if the flooring system had.
But I have seen people go in and out, which is
Concerning.
Is not even.
This is another one, that if, you know, we end up with extra funds, or if we, don't pursue one of the other properties in the packet. This is over at 613 Buttonwood. It is a, very old kind of standard single wide.
Did the side just fall off?
I believe that's what happened, and there was an attempt to kind of close it in, but you can see there's enough gapping here that animals and things can get in it. There's also pull away on the side and pull away here. And the door is not secured, so you can actually see into that one and it is missing a floor system. This is another one. It's next to the 370 East Corbin, which is 370 has already fallen in. This one has not fallen in yet. And it's hard to get close enough to it because of the overgrowth to kind of get a great idea, but I think we probably know that this is no longer a habitable structure. It also has some abatement that would need to happen on some, a boat and a RV on the property that obviously animals and things can get into, windows are open.
Let's give Stranger Things vibes.
This is a newer one that we just sent some, enforcement actions on for the accessory structures. They're obviously not in great shape. And we are gonna try and get some action on getting these cleaned up and or torn down. There's also junk accumulation.
There was a fire in that one, in the house.
Yeah, the code enforcement officer did note that it appeared that at one time the structure was charred and did have some.
Yeah, there's like a tarp over the top of it now where the fire was, it was like the fireplace.
Yeah, and then the main structure also on the back end has sustained a fair amount of damage that you can't see from the street too, so.
No, that one's a
It's
nightmare.
not in good shape. This property owner is the same ownership as the one on, at least the same exact name and PO box as the one, at 380. These two properties.
Then shouldn't that be handled as a package unit, because that's.
Well, they're in different locations and we only have a $20,000 budget. So we're gonna kind of abate them as we can. And I did do a budget request for another $20,000 in next fiscal year so that we can try and, my hope is to try and get a couple of these handled every year as we have funds available. I'll take more funds if you want to do more.
Say 20,000 more, is that 40,000 for fiscal year 27 or just?
No, $20,000 for this fiscal year, and then I asked for $20,000 for the next fiscal year, and I'll probably keep that ask there until we get these all abated.
How far does that go? Like, if we did pick any one of them?
I think we can do the 4 that we initially listed, but I don't have estimates yet. I wanted to kind of run all this by you all before I started really getting into the weeds of getting the estimates for
I
those,
mean,
but.
for 20 grand, I'd be like, get her done because of the danger to kids and people. That's. For someone to have serious injury for want of 20 grand. That's a no-brainer.
I have a question about, when the town is communicating with the property owners, do we tell them that, you know, this is where we are and our estimate is that it's gonna cost between $5,000 and $10,000 to tear? Do we tell them a dollar amount or an estimate?
I don't have one yet for a lot of these, but I think that, yeah, we can reasonably, state code enforcement is really good at kind of looking at these and guessing. I haven't had to do an abatement for code enforcement since early in my career, so probably like 2008 or 9. But they can kind of look at it and be like, based on the size and the condition, we think it'll cost this much.
Didn't we, 2013, 2014?
I didn't do that. Maybe Margaret may have done it. I got here in 15, so
Oh,
I wouldn't
okay.
remember. I wouldn't remember the years. Yeah, I just. So if it was 14, I was before my time.
Of your people here tonight, you may have been the only one.
That remember that far back.
Never mind, cause I remember a nightmare.
But for a lot of these, we're not getting any response from the owners. Now, we may start once we're like, hey, we're gonna tear down your house, then that may start more of a conversation, but as of right now, we have not gotten a response.
Because particularly with the property owner too.
And a curiosity question, if it's a total tear down, is it a bulldozing situation or is it a pick it apart situation to salvage materials by the company that's hired to do it, or they just?
They just take it out and clean it. Yeah, clean it out, disconnect the power, apply for the demo permits and take it out.
Don't they also look for asbestos and such first?
They may have to in certain instances as part of the demolition permit. It'll probably depend a lot on the condition of some of these houses.
As far as going in the budget, in addition to the dollars, and one of the things that I want to be mindful is I had talked to the system manager, Matt, said if I realize the staff only has so much time to do so many a year, but if they get, hey, we're all done and we've got the time and the bandwidth to do more, we will find funds, especially if it's a hazard to do it. And of course, we try to be mindful of the budget, but there are certain things, it's a pay me now or pay me later. And if it's, I'm just making up, if it's $80,000 to do all this, if we do it all now, or we stretch it out over a couple of years, but that was my long-winded way of just saying, Shannon, like, if you want to do the calculations to figure out whatever else it is in the budget request to knock everything else out or give you that flexibility if you have the time. So if it's whatever the dollar amount is, I would encourage putting it in there, and if we need to adjust things, we can. So.
Sounds good. I just didn't wanna go nuts on your,
No,
for your budget.
yeah,
Trying to be modest in my budget request.
yeah, but there are certain things that they're definitely a top priority, so.
Is there anything else you wanted to share with us
No,
before getting?
No, I just kind of wanted to get updates and kind of get thoughts and feedback and let you know that this is the direction we're headed. So if you're not happy with this direction, let me know now.
We'll go on. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention, there's a member in the audience that would like to speak on this item, David Larson. Or.
Yeah, whenever y'all have time.
Okay, well, why don't you go ahead and come up and then, we'll ask additional questions later.
Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity. So I'm with the Kenyon Grove HOA board, and we are adjacent to the 37380 one, and my personal property is as well, is right behind it, and have had a lot of trouble with that one. I've gone and found, you saw his other place as well, so I went and spoke with him, a very nice gentleman, but I don't know that, it's gonna come to much, but the wisteria, I think, is one, that's not about the buildings or anything, but that just continues to come over. We had a estimate for $3,000 to just get the part of the wisteria near our entrance that's coming out of their property. The groundhogs and other animals, the groundhogs just come out in everybody's gardens, and all of that get destroyed. Mosquitoes are crazy coming out of there. And the wisteria went up the light pole there, and actually when it rained, it caused a fire on the light pole. It's a neighborhood that has a lot of kids, so I think our board meetings often talk about these. It's kind of one big property that was, they have 4 heirs that kind of chopped it up, but 2 of the heirs live together at that Nash and King house, which also doesn't look that great. But yeah, we would really appreciate any help there, I guess, if that can be cleared or for sale or anything. I talked to him about that. They weren't open to that, but I don't know if you have any questions for me on that, just in terms of that 370 and 380, both of them are kind of falling in, and they're an eyesore just from that perspective, but there's also a lot of kind of safety and the fact that we have to continually cut back the wisteria. I've never had experience with that. It's kind of like kudzu, in that it just can grow, but every time I cut it back coming into my property, it just there's more of it. So just from the Kenyon Grove HOA, we would love any help there. But
Thank you for your perspective, and a problem that also starts a fire. It's a whole nother level kind of problem, so.
I know y'all
Good
have.
to know. Thank you.
Hold your hair out over that.
yeah, and there was even a suspect from a car jacking or something that came around my house and somehow escaped by crawling through all that underbrush. So there were police around the area looking for the person, but because it was so overgrown, the person managed to get away. So things like that, where it's just kind of a hazard, but.
Thank you. Matt, did you have a question or comment?
Just a few comments. First, I'll start with Mr. Larson's wisteria issues. And I'll just quote Jurassic Park: life finds a way, apparently, and you cut it back, it grows back. I think this makes a lot of sense to move forward with the, you know, with the abatements, whether that's taking out the junk, taking out the or demolishing, I guess one actually kind of already is demolished, just needs to be carted away. In particular, you know, in places that are pretty high visibility in town. I know, thank you for also pulling up the North Nash one. I sent an email during the holidays and we talked about it, and Shannon was like, I've already been out there to figure it out because I screwed up the house number. And sending the email, I transposed a few numbers, but I think beyond just the how sightly something is or unsightly something may be, that it really does open up a lot of health and safety issues. And I think that for us, we have a responsibility for that, in ensuring that the town is safe, whether it's, you know, with vermin or possible abatement with disease, because we have mosquitoes going everywhere, or, you know, some sort of wild animal. But then also, the habitability of some of these properties as well. You know, there's a lot of questions about that. And so, especially where it's derelict, heirs property, especially until the legislature fixes those issues, these are gonna come up, and I think that the community would like for us to move forward on, you know, cleaning things up when and where we can. And I know there's a few other possibilities on 86 after you cross 70 going up. It looks like an old country store where I think the roof is caved in. I think there's a lot of good candidates for this, and would like to see it continue in our budget.
Thank you. Megan?
I have two questions. I was, a community member had asked, how do I report my neighbor? That was one question. Like, now, when you take a look at these houses here, this neighbor's house is in nowhere near this point. But community members are wondering, how do I make sure that my neighbor lives up to the standards that we've set forth in Hillsborough?
Yeah, so you can email anyone in the planning department, and there's also a section on the town's website. I think it's under how do I report a code?
Yeah.
There's plenty of
Code
ways to get
violation,
there.
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, just emailing someone in planning, we can go ahead and start a case, and I will say that, you know, to Matt's point on, you know, aesthetics and, there are a lot of things that like, people in the community may not like, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're a code enforcement issue. So,
Yeah.
you know, things like landscaping, you know, there are things that are and things that are not code enforcement issues. If you're not a big fan of roses and your neighbors decides to plant a bunch of them, there's not necessarily I can do, but we'll investigate everything and come back with findings.
Yeah, and I think it's just one of the houses that somebody owns, but just does not live here anymore. And then the second question was more about like the timing. So this process is long, and you're going back and forth through many different hurdles and steps. Like, how much time do the owners have to respond? Once they get in the process, if they're responding, and then all of a sudden you don't know that they are like, all right, we're gonna ghost you, but now they're gone. Like how long do we allow them to kind of hang out in a stage of the process?
Yeah, a lot of our deadlines are, you know, around 30 days. And if they reach out and make contact and say, hey, I've got this lined up, you know, we tend to, I think, be overly friendly and overly work with people here just because we're a small town and everybody kind of knows everybody. And we're not trying to run people out, and I don't want to tear down houses. I don't, you know, I'd rather people, if they have a house that's in that bad of a condition, tear it down themselves versus use taxpayer dollars to do that. But it will take probably a few months for us to still get these down just to go through that process. But our normal kind of deadline is 30 days.
So they're like from each step along the way.
No, that's your initial, like, you have 30 days to kind of start to do something about this before we go ahead and engage the process.
Well, I guess maybe
But
like
most-
if,
all
like
of
if they're
these
in the
properties-
process.
Yeah, all of these properties have already gotten courtesy letters, and this has been like outstanding for probably 6 months plus of us just trying to get attention, and it's just not going anywhere.
At least two of them, I do remember it may be before your
Been a
time,
while.
but I know it's been that bad that long.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking
And
too.
there's,
the ones-
and there's been, I know two of the properties that there were efforts with, we didn't have as many mechanisms. If memory serves staff, you know, there was a bunch of hurdles. But it's not like these owners are not, they're not clueless.
Yeah,
I think to piggyback off of Megan's question and maybe also what you were trying to also ask is, so they get the notice, they make contact with you, and then things halt, but it's not like every 30 days I can just call Shannon Campbell, and be like, I'm still working on it, and just keep pushing it another 30 days,
That's
another
correct.
30 days, okay?
Yeah, and we have had people who've tried to do that, and it's like, I mean, you're obviously not, if you can't demonstrate any kind of forward progress, then we've got to move forward with the next step.
and I'm sure some of that has to do with your own bandwidth of. Like 30 days, like you're not dropping everything to go.
Yeah, like run out there and do an inspection.
Yeah, okay.
But as far as like full-time start to finish, I'll let you know after we get the first one done, how long that ends up
But
taking.
and more I'm thinking of the ones where you're actually communicating with the owners. and
Yeah.
They have started, but they might not be going forward.
Sometimes it's a couple of months. Like I'll give an example. Commissioner Hughes reached out about an ongoing case that we've had regarding a damaged sign. And that one, it was a unique situation because there were multiple tenants on the sign. So the owner had to go talk to everybody, had to be like, do you still want to be on this sign or not? Because if not, I'm taking you off. Like, we got to fix the sign. We're
It's
gonna
also in the right way.
cost share, it's in the right of way. There's trees needed to be cut back. So, I mean, as long as we're still, like, they're checking in, they're saying, hey, you know, I got all the tenants together, we came into an agreement, here's what it is. Can I have 15 more days? Sure. You know, like, we'll just keep going. But yeah, if you go radio silent, then we're just gonna keep going on in the process.
All right.
We try to be flexible and work with people, but at the same time, it does get to a point sometimes where you're like, okay, you're not actually making any progress on this anymore.
Thank you.
So yeah, I agree with the direction you're laying out and the agenda item. And I think that it really surprised to see the photos of some of the structures that they have, as Matt says, they have self-demolished. And I hope that going forward that we have the bandwidth and the commitment to not letting things get that far. Seriously, so if we need additional resources or guidance, I think we're all ears to be able to empower you to be able to do more for that. Thank you. Kathleen?
well, definitely, I mean, like I said, that is a puny budget compared to if someone gets hurt, God forbid if it's a kid. I do have a question though, because I have some memory of legislation that did give us municipalities more leeway or tools for these kinds of properties, blight properties. Because my understanding is they're considered to be blight and there's funding for that. Is my memory that there was legislation that didn't make it to that sign, actual passage?
Maybe we had a lot more ability than we had enabled for ourselves. So you'll remember several months back, I brought you just pages and pages and
Right.
pages of town codes updates. Because the state gave us more power than we enabled ourselves to have in the town code. So we've since updated the town code to actually allow ourselves to be able to do a lot more. As far as funding for blight, I'm not aware of any. Maybe there's community development block grant funds or something, but a lot of those are aimed at more lower income communities. I'm not sure that we would qualify, but it's something we can look into if it's a way to reduce
again,
the cost.
My memory is bad enough that I don't remember if it was legislation that actually passed.
Yeah.
But I do have memory where there's something that gave us more tools, I mean, not a lot more tools, but these are clearly blighted, they're blighted properties, which give it, it's something more than just a code enforcement approach. And I mean, as Matt noted, there's a lot more properties around town that they're blighted properties, that can be redeveloped and should be redeveloped. But the danger, it's a help, I know our health department doesn't step in. A lot of jurisdictions, this would have never happened because health department would have stepped in as hazard, but it's a help, certainly public health, purpose, safety, on so many different levels. And I support giving you the tools, what we need. Get it done. And, I do have memories of, it had to have been 20, it was before you, I mean, people had to go into hazmat suits. It was that bad. You remember, Eric, corners, 70 and, 86. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
that all god awful
Right.
hazmat, and again, our health department did step, which is just mind blowing. I mean, once the wheels started turning, we got things done. But I'm glad that we're reaching out and giving people 30 days for that first notice, but for these kind of properties, come on, they don't need a lot of notice. They need proper notice, legalities, get her done, but it's not like they don't know there's an issue. And I think that's a whole different situation than grass is too tall. Oh, oops, something happened. I mean, and stuff, a storm goes through and it coincides when you're in the hospital for a health condition. There's gonna be a lag time. You're not, I mean, that's a whole different situation. This isn't that. I don't want us to tear on these kinds of situations.
Thank you, Kathleen. Rob, do you have any questions?
I do have a few questions. What happens when, so say we bake one of these because something will not or cannot. And when you say bake, we're really just talking about getting most of the junk off the property, correct?
Yeah, so for the.
Bringing it up to code.
No, so for example, the property at 112 Hill, there is a primary structure that is somebody lives in it. So for those kinds of abatements, we're just talking about going in and clearing all the junk and cleaning everything up and getting the hazards kind of out of the right of way and off the property. For the houses, those that are vacant, those are, tearing them down, but also clearing the lot of the debris and any junk that may remain there.
And so if we do that, I'm just trying to figure out how this works. Do we put a lien on the house, get that, recoup that money at some point? Do we
Yeah,
able to recoup that money?
When it's eventually sold, and Bob can correct me if I'm wrong, when it eventually does get sold, they have to actually pay us first. Before the sell, before the buyer.
There's a mortgage on the property, the lien will be right behind the mortgage. Has to be paid out of the sale proceeds, assuming there are sufficient sale proceeds.
So I'm in full support of whatever we need to, I think, move forward. This, $20,000 does not seem like to me that, it will go that far. So I encourage you to, ask for what you need. It's yeah, to me, it's an aesthetic thing, it's definitely a health thing, it's a community health kind of concern. But all the properties that you shared with us today and stuff, this didn't happen overnight or in a year or in the last 5 years even. So I think any way that we can look at our kind of future kind of code enforcement and try to kind of catch these things before they're in complete disrepair. Help us kind of like stay ahead of that, but I also know that, you know, you have limited, time and resources today too.
Yeah, and a lot of this was kind of the precipice for asking for the help with
Yeah.
code enforcement. I mean, it's just overwhelming and it's more than me and my handful of staff can really keep on and
100%.
even just. It sounds silly, but even just trying to keep up with all the grass. Once the grass comes back, right now, this is actually a really good time to try and tackle these because the grass isn't growing. But yeah, this is a good opportunity for us to try and start handling these problems.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
they have been cropping up over the year and kind of getting more and more. And again, as the baby boomers too are getting older and passing away and are going into extended care and then they're just kind of leaving their houses. And if there's nobody there that wants it, or, you know, that's an heir situation where everybody owns it, but nobody owns it, it makes it's a really struggle.
Yep. I think, you know, I think you're moving in the right direction. I think we kind of went from, little to no kind of code enforcement to, you know, starting to really, put some sort of guardrails on that and ask people to do, if nothing else, a minimum. But yeah, you have, my full support and continue to abate as much as you can.
I have one other question. The hills, you know, the hill property, I remember when we did work, but I thought I heard you say we'd clean up the right of way. The last time we made them clean up their property because there was such a rat problem that was impacting the neighbors. Are we going to make sure that that property is the entire property? Because the last thing that we need is those neighbors having rat problems, and Hillsboro's got a rat issue. I've unfortunately experienced a single rat. $38,000 later of damage. But that was one of the complaints of the neighbors and I still hear about are rats. So that when we are abating it, it's not just the right of way, that property needs.
Yeah, it would be the full
Okay.
property, but one of the concerns is that a lot of the accumulation of stuff kind of got pushed up to the right of way. So for like plowing and stuff like that, if it snows, it is a concern that we would flip some of that stuff.
No, I understand that.
But
I
no,
just wanted to
the
make
proposal
sure.
was to clear the whole property.
Okay, because that's having the neighbors continue with the rats is not healthy for a whole different issue.
That's one other thing. So does the Orange County Health Department have any
They do nothing.
action in this at all? Is there anything that we can engage them in to help with a community health issue?
I know when I spoke with them, they don't touch it. I don't understand why. I've had some conversations with their state health department, haven't gone anywhere. I don't understand. I would love to know myself. Because other places, that's one of the first places before towns get into place, they will shut things down. And because it is a public health hazard.
Yeah, I think they defer largely to us in our jurisdiction, but we do have a couple of situations that have arisen where we do have folks that are living in structures that are not fit to be lived in. And in that instance, we do reach out to our partners in Orange County Building Inspections and with Housing and Homelessness to try to connect them with resources, especially if they're occupying dwellings that really shouldn't be occupied, whether they're falling apart, they're damaged, they lack heating and cooling or electricity or water. So we do kind of pull in, but it's not usually like environmental health. It's usually housing and building inspection.
Cause even that house in 70, I mean, they went in with hazmat suits. It was that bad. And there was a person in there. Any place else, there would not been a discussion. Health department would come in and truly and physically move them because of the damn, whatever. And ours, nothing happens. I would love to know, and I don't know, maybe Bob, you know, is it a jurisdiction? Is it?
I don't know off the top of my head, where the line is drawn or what they can do, what they can't do. So I can find out, but
I would love to know.
I just feel like if we have some additional leverage, it would be helpful. So whether it's, it's not just coming just from the town, it is it's a public health issue.
I think we touched on that issue of the Colonial Inn and minimum
Right.
housing code.
Yeah.
he had to remove himself from the structure because. This and that,
But feel free to, I mean, I think you've got consensus from the board. If you have additional feedback to us on that question, feel free to send us some educational information that needs to be brought up again. We can do that.
Thank you for, no.
I do have one more question and it, something that Rob said that sparked it with me. When we put a lien on property, is there interest attached to that? Or is it just whatever the dollar amount is that we,
I think there's interest at the statutory rate.
okay. So if we do go that route, I would want to make sure that we're adding interest to it,
Yeah, just,
whatever the statutory rate is.
I just want to say, I have a lot of municipal clients, who are initially really enthusiastic about code enforcement. Until they see how much time it takes and how much money it costs up front. Yeah. You're not gonna get a return on the investment till many years later, maybe, but there needs to be a real commitment to do it if you're gonna do it. Yeah, that's my experience.
But otherwise slowly kind of erodes away, you know, the beautification or just, you know, overall sort of, sense of community. Yeah.
On the affordable housing, conference that the three of us went to, some of these houses could be places people could live.
No, yeah,
We could have, you know,
redevelopment is, and that's part of the blighted and those conversations was so they could be into, you know, depending where the blight is, affordable housing and then actual business, you know, income tax producing businesses. And the last thing we need is someone getting hurt or die.
Feel free to give us additional suggestions if you kind of have any tips for us along those lines. So we're not being wasteful.
All right, thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Okay, next on the agenda, number C, hot topics for the work session on 26th. We have a mini retreat, budget retreat for that meeting.
So there's a draft agenda in front of you that sent out today, so I'm open to any suggestions or changes. You have limited time, so if you want to completely throw in the trash and start over, might be scrambling. We're gonna push those out and also I'm probably forgetting something, but for the February part, we'll have Ralph Tallis come and do the presentation about the water rate options. The board can deliberate, discuss, provide direction, ask for more information, strategic plan update. I think we've got some other things. And there may be things from January you want to roll into February, but.
Thank you. Eric, it seems like in the past 2 weeks, there might have been another topic for the work session. Are you aware of any other things that we, not related to the mini retreat? It seems like in conversation, there was a potential other topic, but I forgot what.
There was it something about affordable housing?
We have a couple of action items, so for the February regular meeting, we'll have a request from CASA for financial participation. We've got banner approval for the AG50 event coming up on February regular. I can't think of anything that's on our parking lot for a work session.
And
Thank you.
And the CASA request can be, we were debating on whether or not to try to shoehorn that into this agenda. Because of course you've already adopted basically your affordable housing plan. There are some discretionary funds where you would do it. I think Matt's, an observation and just discussion, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, that the request they're making for the Collins Ridge property, that would pretty much commit you for like, okay, all of our funds are, you've already plotted, you know, out for the next several years. And that may be completely fine. So it could, the presentation and request and discussion you have at the February regular board meeting could have significant budget implications in a positive way. You go, hey, we just checked that box. Look, we're doing these 6 or 7 things. They're part of our affordable housing plan. We're doing great. Or it could raise other questions. So that could end that you may end up dealing with that in more detail further down the road.
Good, thank you. Okay, updates, board members. Matt, can we start with you? Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Can you give us both your committee assignments and any other person updates?
Yeah.
That are wording.
let us know.
Sure, so the Visitors Bureau does not meet until next Wednesday, and then the TPO the following Tuesday. And then the Family Success Alliance will be the first week in February, so none of those have come up as we're just now beginning the year. I do want to say that I attended Governor Hunt's funeral last month, very well attended, and someone who obviously made a big impact on the state. And then there are 3 things for y'all to put on your calendar if you want to attend. This year, the league is doing the town and state dinner like they did a few years ago, where they're going around the state. However, the closest one to us is Raleigh, which is typically where they have them. And that is April 15th. Registration's not available yet. It's the very last of the town and state dinners they're doing around the state. City Vision this year is also in Raleigh, May 5th through 7th. Registration is supposed to drop later this month. I'm sure part of that was holding out to see the condition of the Raleigh Convention Center. But they just reopened this past weekend for the first time since the fire that they had a couple months ago. And then also there's the legislative breakfast on mental health that is taking place on Saturday, February 7th at the Friday Center in Chapel Hill. So you can attend any of those, and their registration link is on the website. You just Google legislative breakfast on mental health.
And do that promptly, because they are almost out of tickets.
Those are all my updates.
Thank you. Megan?
I don't have any updates. There was a tourism board meeting last Monday, but I was unable to attend. I was in Arizona putting out my mom's house for sale. After 292 days on the market. So that felt good. But unfortunately, I couldn't make it to the tourism board meeting. It was a pretty light meeting. We just approved Spencer Waldhorn tonight for a new open position. So that's all the updates I have.
Thank you. I didn't have any committee assignments and had a small list of mayoral duties, but nothing worth.
Partnership, met tonight, got some interesting stats, just some handfuls of, since, July through December, the coordinated entry, 255 people. The people served on, the number of households. I'm sorry, 255 households, and in terms of adding to the shelter referral list, 238, and the number of initial contacts for the housing helpline was 2193, so almost 2,200 people in 6 months. Some other notable stats, give me just a second. I had to get these in very screenshots. I couldn't get to my written stuff. Well, I was going to tell you, it didn't come out clear enough. That's all I'll tell you right now. We also got early look of partnership budget. They are going to be revisiting the percentages, so it may adjust, but it is higher, which we expected given that with the funding has been drastically cut from the feds for rapid rehousing and our normal prevention services. We've been getting $1.2 million into the county. We've been told that will be cut. It was cut to 342,000. But that's still in the NOFA that's going back and forth, that it's just looking bad. Don't know what's gonna actually happen, because there's still, the courts have stepped in. The Central Pines is meeting at end of this month, and then the beginning of next month is at the national level. On the local reentry council, we had some reconstitution there. Really excited about that. Just some background. We were one of the first local reentry councils in the state. It comes in, it's state funding into it. But the way we were set up was not, the way as it evolved, we got out of alignment to what the vision of the structure. So there's been some reconstitution back in and moving forward. But definitely we're having success stories there. The statewide resource database for reentry is up and running. So some of the really cool things happening there. I had shared previously that we had at the forum, which was the state level of Council of Governments, that we had heard about the North Carolina multi-sector plan for aging, but I'd forgotten handouts. I brought them. So that's kind of nasty. So anyhow, after I quit talking, I'll share this with you, that there's opportunities to participate. There are four major pillars, and if you want to be involved, you contact them, and it's different committee work. I also got something that, Eric, I don't know if you've heard of, or if I just won the lottery of weird things that land, and it's called Gov Possible Management Software for Small Utilities, Municipalities. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
They sent me a t-shirt and marketing materials. I'm like, I won the lottery somehow. I'm just gonna give it to y'all and to trash or look into as you see fit.
What type of software?
Let's see, focus on managing council, not shuffling paper, legislative intake. I'm reading this for the first time, by the way. Intake management, agenda presentation. It's like, I don't know.
Please feel free to recycle that now.
Excellent, but I kind of like the t-shirt.
So they want you to get rid of paper by sending you paper.
Apparently so, and t-shirt and an envelope. I mean, I was like, I got this thing going, I pulled out the t-shirt going, I don't know. Very strange. So anyhow, no, that's all. I don't have much on committee. I have no committees.
Thank you. Rob? I do not have any committee reports. Megan and I have almost completed the Chapel Carver Chamber Leadership 25 program. There's graduation set for this Thursday. So thank you, Eric and Mark, for joining us. If you can, we did have a project, we had a group project, which is selecting a nonprofit and then raising some money for that nonprofit. So I don't know if we shared this at all before, but Family Reading Partners is a nonprofit in Orange County, most based in, well, it's actually Orange County. The founders live in Chapel Hill, they're ex-teachers, and their whole mission is to get kids reading earlier. And so they focus on that 2 to 5 age, but they also are at UNC hospitals with families of people in the NICU and anywhere that they can, basically find children, and they volunteer, or the volunteers basically go in and they model reading so that the families can continue that when they're not there, give them books, give them gifts. And our cohort was able to raise over $5,000 for this nonprofit. So we think hopefully that money will go to good use and feel good about it. So that's all I got.
I did forget something. I did 2 ride-alongs, daytime and nighttime. I joke because whenever I'm there, it's the calmest night ever, or the calmest day.
Feel free to come by more often.
what all of your officers say, please do, because nothing happens countywide, by the way. But I did want to share, there was a couple incidents that I felt was notable for different reasons. One, there was a situation where, picked up an arrestee, agitated, surly, and could have gone adversarial really easily. And, Blackwell just, it was like a chill pill. And I mean, we're sitting in the magistrates and we're sharing recipes and dog stories. I mean, in complete night and day from when he first got in there, it was, I mean, like, ooh, this could not be fun. Second aspect of that was because it's new after Arena's law, there was things procedurally that was not user friendly. And what I was very impressed with was by the time we got back to the station, already staff had worked out workarounds to make it easier and more efficient to get things done. And it was just that creative, get it done, compliance, creativity to help everyone involved. And that was just, full staff, and that was impressive to see that happen, real time. On the night rides, I mean, it was calm, it was all alarms. False alarms. But, again, what I'm impressed with, it's the camaraderie, it's, the give and take, and it makes me really proud of our agency and hearing the stories from the officers of why they're here. And so I just wanted to share that.
That's like you write up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I did do, I did do, yeah. For the nighttime one.
I'm scheduled to go on Friday.
Now, if you had action, I'm gonna be really, because this is like my fifth or sixth night in.
I'll just stage some events.
Just we have the stories.
One thing I forgot to mention, is, the MLK March and Celebration are a week from, today. We're gonna gather at the old courthouse at 9 o'clock for the march, up to, I think it's Mount Bright. And so, celebration there, so put that on here. Sorry, go ahead. And then also, in case I forget to mention this at, our upcoming work session, anybody who's interested, the Habitat, Affordable Housing Summit is, February 5th.
Yeah.
And, is there a charge? Is anybody?
No, it's free.
No
it's free.
You just gotta.
I need to register. Yeah. So put that on your radar. Okay, anything else?
To answer Megan's question, I think the registration came in last week or over the weekend.
That's
I don't know if it came, yeah. But if
Eventually
you
I'll
want
get it.
to, I can register you. But the MLK mentioned by Mirabelle, I did attend the oratorical contest that the MLK commemorative committee had this past Saturday at Mount Bright. And there's a slew of different events that commemorative committee will also have a banquet this coming Saturday, as well as the march that will be on Monday. And then I will be attending the UNC. I don't, there's so many words involved in their title, but I guess it's the official UNC MLK commemoration. Dolores Bailey may have sent y'all an email about it, but that is next Sunday. So it'll be a packed weekend of commemorative events. That's it.
Thank you. Eric, anything else? No update. Yeah. And staff reports are in the agenda. Anything else for the good of the group? Or a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Kathleen?
Second.
Megan, all in favor?
I-
Thank you. Have a good night.